So this video is part 2 of my interview with Justin Schatz of the YouTube channel 68Shotts, where he talks about all of the corruption that he's dealt with there in southern Michigan.
I know. I always tell people I think it's a very important concept because so much. I think probably the most common response I get at all this is, "I know you're right. I know how crooked they are. I know how bad it's going. No sense in messing with it. Not worth it. You're not going to change it by yourself." All this, and it's the most common response that I get. Period is, as long as it's not affecting you directly, if you can stay out of it, if you can ignore it, if you can stay with, you're going to have enough to deal with of your own already anyways. Don't ever, open in a can of worms,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. And that's probably the most common reaction I get, and it's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you right now, it's wrong, and this is why. It's always, like the saying that you can only see the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, yes.
You know, and like you said about that, it's always something that's festering deeper underneath, and like the longer you wait, the harder it's going to be. And the biggest thing I say to people personally too, because it is that human nature to kind of, you know, stay out of fights that aren't yours kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And but the issue is it's coming for you stronger after it gets your neighbor. And that's one thing I
Yep.
realized. This whole situation with me, it started off with me because he had initially, this dude had tore out my neighbor's dock, who was his ex-girlfriend.
Okay.
And a lot of people have said, well, that's none of your business, stay out of it. And it wasn't, and I would have stayed out of it. But she was gone. She's my neighbor. And I looked down there, he was down there tearing out her dock. I called the police.
Yeah, you were saying that your neighbor was tearing out his ex-girlfriend's dock and you called the police?
Yeah, hang on, let me just turn this heater down again.
Sure.
But yeah, absolutely. That's how this started for me. It was is the you know I had no idea what was going on in their world, but he had moved in and out of her house several times over the years.
Okay.
So none of that meant anything to me. I never paid any attention to it. Uh, in recent times, right before this issue started, the lady who owns the lakefront property down there that all of our lake easements go across,
Mm-hmm.
her daughter moved in from out of state to kind of take care of her. She's like in her 80s.
Okay.
And that was the first we had really seen of any of the family. The neighborhood had kind of just been looking out for this lady up to that point.
Okay.
So when she moved in, we thought, oh, that's good, start come take care of their mom, and we were glad for that. And this guy, Minnie Putin, the guy that's been giving me all this grief, he had been like mowing the grass there for the last few years. And I had paid no attention again to any of this dynamic or anything. And I did know, the only thing that I did know is that at this point he was moved back in the house as, a renter,
Okay.
and was supposed to be like kind of proving himself, kind of a thing. And my neighbor came over one day and she confided in me and said, I'm worried, Corey has told me that, he's gonna tear out my dock and that, no one's allowed to use the lakeshore down there anymore. And I took it only as a domestic thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's mad because they're broke up or she's thrown him out again or something, and so
Mm-hmm.
he's messing with her. So I just tried to assure her. I said, well, listen, this, civil society, it's not going to go on like that. He's not going to be allowed to terrorize you. So he's not going to tear your dock out. I said, don't worry about it. I said, we'll keep an eye on things. It'll be all right. And I really didn't think it was anything more than him trying to threaten and intimidate her. That was the last thought I gave to it. And I looked down there, it was on Easter Sunday, and he was tearing her dock out, just tearing all of her stuff out, the landscaping and everything, and
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, holy cow, this guy's crazier than I thought, so I just called the police, and I said, hey, I'm here. I called my neighbor to make sure that there's no possible way that this guy might have permission, or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, no way, I said, so, get the cops out here. So they send out a couple cops, and he gets in their face, tells them to butt out, and they do.
Wow.
They packed up and left. They didn't do a damn thing. He kept right on tearing her dock out. And I was just really in shock, didn't really know what to think about the whole situation, watched and filmed as the cops stood there, and she had gotten home during all this commotion. I had called her, and so she came home, and she was inside her house, and she had uh was kind of reluctant to come out of the house, understandably.
Mm-hmm.
And the cops were saying, well, he's saying he has permission to do this. And I said, well, he doesn't. Go talk to the owner. She's right here. Just go
Mm-hmm.
ask her. And the cops were like, well, if she doesn't want to come out, she must not have a problem. And I said, no, go ask her. And they started like they were going to go up to her door. He stopped the police and said, no, you won't. I'll go get her. Not even kidding. He chased her back into her house, calling her fat effing C word in front of the cops. They did nothing.
Wow.
And then they eventually did go knock on her door, and she didn't come to the door after being chased into her house in front of the cops.
She probably, was definitely intimidated.
And the cops turned around to me and said, well, she doesn't want to come out of the house. She must not have a problem with it. Later. Then I didn't know what to think about it. And, most people, I guarantee you, would have just said, well, that's their own problem if she doesn't want to, fight for it or whatever. And I'm telling people right now, that's where you make the mistake.
Mm-hmm.
He had already planned to rip my dock out and everybody else's. On the selfish side of things, I'm talking to the selfish human right now. On the selfish side of things, I would have only been submitting my own fate by letting her have it. By letting her have that kind of treatment, that kind of abuse. If I had let it be okay for her, I would have just been paving the way for myself. He had already planned it. I just didn't know.
He's never been able to pull out your dock.
Oh, well, yeah. He came. Well, the thing is he came immediately after that. Initially, he threatened me right in front of the police. Right in front of the police, he threatened he was going to get me. And then immediately after that, he came over to my house, and he had often done this over the years. Very, very unstable, bipolar, up and down. I'll kill you. I'll kill you.
I've seen.
I'm sorry.
The
I
videos you
didn't mean it. Let's make up. So so he immediately came over with one of these. Let's make up. I'm sorry. I know I was in the wrong kind of an attitude. And came over to the house, and this was the first I was hearing of any of this. Really, the neighbor lady hadn't told me anything about the personal situation or anything. Just that she was worried physically. He had threatened that he was going to be tearing up her property and stuff. And he came over and lays it onto me like that we're buddies. He says, hey man, I'm hooked up with the property owner's daughter now. She's loaded. This is a really good deal for me. And obviously he's homeless, and I'm just taking all this in like, oh, gross, and he like he's appealing to me like we're bros or something. He's like, you get it, man. I can't have it going good with the owner's daughter here and have the ex, coming down and using the lake right next to us and stuff, and of course, because and my next door neighbor, she's a younger and a beautiful woman, and the owner's daughter there that he's going after for money is looks like the crypt keeper, like so yeah, I get it. He's probably not going to want to see the voluptuous neighbor going to the lake, and they're going to always I understood what he was saying. That doesn't give you the rights to run somebody out of town, take their property, But he says to me, he's like, "Oh, you get it, I got this good gig, I can't have it ruined." He's like, "She's got to go," and I'm like, I can't believe this guy's saying this stuff to me. It's just in real life you don't have people act like this,
Mm-hmm.
and he's just
Yeah.
like openly plotting with me, like you get it. I've got to drive her out of this neighborhood into selling her house, her life's investment, and moving away so that I can, continue grifting this situation.
So I guess my question is, where is his link to the cops? Is he somebody's nephew or something?
I think somewhat still yet to be revealed. So,
Okay.
so this is something I found out is that cleared some of it up is like there's a guy that owns a local car lot here in Penfield, in the edge of Battle Creek here,
Okay.
and he's obviously got quite a bit of money. He's got a pretty nice estate locally here, not just a couple miles away, and somehow they're hooked up. Like he's always that guy's got like $100,000 collector cars that are always for sale by Corey,
Okay. Okay.
which is him defrauding the state.
Hmm.
That's like him subverting the process of using a dealership and selling it by a proxy fake private seller.
Interesting.
So there, who knows how far the corruption really goes, but also like
There's
he from time to time works for a couple local landscaping companies that appear to have like all of the local municipal courthouse, county contracts, all that
okay.
stuff, so it's
So
like,
I knew there had to be a link because when I've called,
yeah,
because I've called the sheriff's department there, and I've called the county prosecutor there, and the sheriff's department was pretty open. Their director of communications got back to me very quickly, said, "Look, here's what I can comment on it," which I
right.
understand they're limited, but the prosecutor's office, oh my, they were immediately like hostile with me, and I was like, look, I'm just trying to ask some questions here. I'm part of the media. And
Yeah.
so it really stood out to me like there's some type of connection there. So I'm glad you kind of that you're starting to connect the dots. um
Yeah, there's definitely, and there's obviously more than has been revealed.
mhm.
It's
Now you
it's just a thing. It's just a thing of it's really one of the grossest sides of the classism issue is those who aren't even part of the class. They're they're scoffing at everyone else for being the suck up, for being the houseboy, and it's like, really, I mean, literally, he is these people's yard boy. Like literally, he mows their grass and landscapes
because
their rock gardens,
I
and
initially wondered if there was some type of thing because essentially what you have is a zoning issue uh, with
yeah,
easements, and Michigan lakefront property is nice property to have. So
yeah,
you're sitting on a little nice thing that you got there, and I could see where other people, because I'm from not too far away. I know the area and I know what it's like when there's developers who suddenly get an eye for properties and then want to start, you know,
oh
coming on
sure,
to
oh
that.
this is exponential. They have a piece of property down there that is arguably worth nothing
Hmm.
because 11 properties have right of way across it to the lake.
Hmm.
And it's just a tiny, thin strip of land.
Hmm.
So they're paying and probably not a lot, a nominal amount of taxes on it, but they're paying the taxes on it. And, with 11 of their properties having right of way,
Yeah. Yeah.
you might want to keep it for the sake of I've had it and it's mine, but to say it has any value to sell is ridiculous. Now, on the other hand, if you can kick the 11 property owners off of there, well, now you've got something pretty valuable because now you've got a nice piece of
Hmm.
lakeshore with, sole one access to it kind of thing. So it's no secret what they're doing. And then it's no secret why the prosecutor's in on this deal. He's stealing lakefront at his own private residence.
Hmm. No, that all makes sense. That's what I initially thought was when I really started getting into it. What was behind it? I do want to shift gears a little bit. Have you gotten any help from the federal or state resources with this battle of corruption that you've had locally?
I have not. I had my complaints to the Attorney General's office just rejected.
Okay.
Um, I contacted the FBI. The FBI said that they are going to start an investigation, that they will be investigating, but that it'll
Okay.
be a very
Good.
long and, you know, not hearing much back process kind of a thing. They said, it's all quiet to the end kind of deal.
Is there
So,
anything any of the viewers can do to help you along with it?
oh, I think absolutely. I think anytime anybody is willing to call any of the representatives that are either over for the state level or for the federal level, over this part of Michigan here,
Okay.
that's the most effective thing you can do.
Okay.
Still, a lot of people never, want to put an exact finger on where we want to apply the pressure. The people that we're electing to put into office, that's really the only effect we're still having.
Okay.
You
No,
know,
that's
so
that's
that
good. So
that's how you drive them to act, is when they get an amount of phone calls or emails.
I will put names and
It
links
sucks.
in this video of all the individuals that I can who can have some type of effect on this. So for those of you watching, look down in the description. I'll make sure I get those in there as I discover them. And if there's anyone that you want me to have put down there, just let me know and I'll put their information.
Well done.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me because if there's one thing that I've learned, it's the government is normally either absent or incompetent, and
Yeah,
most times when you come across any type of thing, it's gonna be one of those. But like at the local levels, like what you're saying, it's almost never neither of those. It's normally just straight up corrupt. It's good
yeah,
old boy networks, that type of thing. So
yeah.
I really appreciate you having come on the show because I think you're giving us a definite perspective that people can relate to. Um, so, where do you want our viewers to go and find your videos and everything?
That's my YouTube channel is 68 Shotts with two T's, so SHOTTS, and I'm the same handle on Facebook as well. I put most of the political and redress of government type stuff up right on the YouTube channel, so people can just follow everything in one place, and then you can
Excellent,
always just catch me for more social stuff there on Facebook.
excellent. Well, I appreciate you joining us today, and giving us some of your time. If you ever want to come back on the show, we generally do our live show on Tuesdays, and
Okay.
you're always welcome back, and we'll definitely be
Appreciate it.
keeping an eye on your story because it's fascinating. I'm
Thank you.
sorry all the stuff that you've had to deal with, but you're definitely doing good work for so many other people, and we definitely appreciate
Well,
it.
I think it hit home recently here for everybody with this mega site coming in from China.
Oh
You know,
yeah,
we've been talking to them about, how this applies to everyone directly about these local government issues. And I think a lot of people really just weren't hearing it until now. The CCP is building a 1,900 acre facility next door, and they're saying, "What? This is because of my corrupt local people I haven't been watching." Yeah,
They're all getting rich.
yeah, yeah,
They're all getting rich off you.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
thank you again.
literally said if you read some of the news write-ups on it, they said this is a. Well, we just found out this was announced on the 13th. That's how long we've known. This was announced
Yep.
on the 13th. The news write-ups on it say it was a plan 50 years in the making.
Sure. Sure.
Not for the peasants, not for
Yeah.
the
Oh yeah.
peasants. The golf course knew about it for 50 years, But
Well, thank you again for joining us.
thank you,
Really do
brother.
appreciate it. And if there's anything we can do for you, we definitely are supporting what you're doing. And
Appreciate it. Yeah, like
it,
I said, I tell people call those representatives. It matters. Call and email those representatives.
absolutely. And for those of you watching, we're going to have all that right down in the description. Uh, and yeah, definitely go to his YouTube channel, go to his Facebook channel, follow him, watch his videos, leave a like and a comment because that's how we get it. We break the algorithm. We get out there. If you're watching us on YouTube, give us a like and a comment. Also, you can join us in our Facebook group, Veteran Nation, right there on Facebook. And for all of you who joined us today, thank you for being worth serving.
Thanks, sir. God bless you.